Hello everyone, Luke here. Happy New Year to all of you. Hope you've had a great start to 2022. We're now going to be taking a look at lots of people who will be hoping they have a great 2022 as well. And that is the junior drivers that are currently affiliated with the Formula One teams. Driver Academies have become really big over the last few years. We're going to be taking a look at the main talents for the Driver Academies, not all of them, so we won't be looking at anyone who is just in karting at the moment, unless the Academy doesn't really have anyone at that higher level. And let's get started with a Driver Academy that has caused plenty of a stir over the years, Red Bull. Now, the Red Bull Driver Academy has had some stick over the years, from myself included, for perhaps dumping drivers too quickly once they start struggling in Formula One. But there is no doubt that they are exceptionally good, perhaps unmatched, at getting drivers there in the first place. Yuki Tsunoda is their latest example of a driver who's been promoted to F1, perhaps promoted a bit too quickly, seeing as he only spent one season in F4, one season in F3, and one season in F2. Maybe they've learned from that though. All the drivers that were in F2 for them last season have been given another season, and there are no fewer than 5 Red Bull Juniors expected to be in Formula 2 next year, and we're going to start with Jori Vips. Jori Vips was the best performing Red Bull Junior last season in Formula 2, finishing 6th in the championship with 2 wins in what was his first full-time season. And normally, you see drivers perform slightly better in their second one. Has yet to finish in the top 3 though in any single-seater championship. He managed 4th in Formula 3 and some other series as well. 4th place has been his best result. Will be interesting to see how he does. Looks like he's being retained by the high-tech team for next season. Did beat his teammate last year, another Red Bull Junior, Liam Lawson. Got a victory on debut last season, only picked up another couple of podiums though to finish 9th in the Drivers' Championship. Perhaps more well known for streaming, definitely more well known for the very controversial finish to the DTM season last year. Was looking like he would win the title before he was involved in a contentious collision with Kelvin van der Linde. Be interesting to see how he does in his second season as he is moving to Carlin, and he will be replacing Johan Deruvela. Yes, another Red Bull Junior driver. He's now heading into his 3rd full-time season in Formula 2. Last season was definitely a step up for the Indian. His main problem, though, in 2 seasons, he's yet to beat his teammate. Soundly beaten in both by Yuki Tsunoda in 2020, by Dan Ticktum last year. It's pretty much now or never for Deruvela, and I doubt if we'd see him in Formula 1. Now, Deruvela will be at Prema next year, so he'll be expected to perform highly at the reigning champions in F2. He's going to be under some pressure, though, from his rookie teammate, reigning F3 champion and fellow Red Bull Junior, Dennis Hauger. The Norwegian got 4 wins and 5 other podiums on the way to that F3 championship with Prema, and he'll be hoping he can emulate Oscar Piastri in taking the championship on debut. If he does, don't be surprised to see him in Formula 1 at AlphaTauri in 2023. If he struggles, that might just open the door for the runner-up in F3 last season, Jack Duhan, son of motorcycle world champion Mick Duhan. He's managed to get himself a very nice seat in the 2nd series in single-seater motorsport. He's with the Virtuosi team, who've been runners-up in the last 3 seasons in the Constructors, and his performances in F2 last season for MP Motorsport suggest that he has definitely got some talent. Another Driver Academy that has come under plenty of scrutiny over the years is the Mercedes Academy. Pascal Wehrlein and Esteban Ocon both joined Formula 1 as part of this, but couldn't quite make that step up into the top team. In the end, Ocon was signed by Alpine, and Wehrlein dropped out of Formula 1 altogether. He's now in Formula V. That is changing, of course. George Russell making the step up after 3 seasons at Williams to join the Mercedes team. Will we see one of the following names joining the Silver Arrows in the future? Frederick Vesty is the young driver closest to joining Formula 1 that is currently in the Mercedes Academy. Won Formula Regional in 2019, has finished 4th in both of his F3 seasons, and recently took part in the F2 post-season test driving for ART. The problem is, over the last few seasons, ART have been able to get one car to challenge for race wins, maybe even challenge for championships, but only one car. So it'll be interesting to see if Vesty does take part in F2 next season, how he fares. The rest of Mercedes' Driver Academy looks quite a long way away from reaching Formula 1 at the moment. Paul Aaron, the Estonian driver, finished third in Formula Regional last year, did take part in a Prema test for Formula 3, so wouldn't be surprised to see him taking part in his first FIA F3 season next year, and Prema is a pretty good team to do it with, let's be honest. The other single-seater driver they've got is Andrea, Kimmy, Antonelli. Clean sweep of rookie-class victories in the final round in Italian F4 at Monza. Looks like he's going to be doing a full-time season in that series, but again, still a long way off Formula 1. Next up, we've got Ferrari, a team who's seen plenty of successes from their driver academy. Charles Leclerc obviously winning Formula 1 races. Mick Schumacher recently getting into Formula 1, but then occasionally things haven't gone to plan. Giovinazzi didn't make the step up from Alfa Romeo, and who can forget Callum Ilott, of course. Runner-up to Mick Schumacher in 2020 in Formula 2, was only a reserve driver last season, and now that he's heading over to America, which I think could be a very good idea driving in IndyCar, might just have given up on his F1 dream. But what about the rest of Ferrari's driver academy? A bit like Ilott last season, it looks like Rob Schwartzman, the best he's going to be able to do this year, is a reserve job. Was fantastic in both his seasons in Formula 2 on paper, fourth in his debut season, second in his second. One slight caveat with that though, both times his teammate was the champion, qualifying just letting the Russian down ever so slightly. Wouldn't surprise me if in the future we see him taking a similar path to Ilott and heading over to America. Wouldn't surprise me in the future if we see Ilott, Schwartzman, maybe even Giovinazzi going for an attack at a WEC championship in a Ferrari hypercar. Another Ferrari junior who was in F2 last season was Marcus Armstrong, and for some reason just hasn't worked out for the Kiwi in Formula 2. His first 4 races, he managed 2 podiums. It took him another 31 to stand on the podium again. Outside of the top 10 in both seasons, got a bit of a feeling of a last chance saloon now for the Kiwi. If we look at Ferrari's F3 squad, we see Arthur Leclerc, younger brother of Charles Leclerc, had a bit of a stuttering start at Prema last season. I think even he would admit that. Didn't score points in the first 4 races, went on to win round 5 of the season at Paul Ricard. Did secure the top 10 finish in the championship. He'll be hoping for a lot better in his second season. Prema are yet to lose a FIA F3 drivers title. Schwartzman, Piastri, and then Hauger last season taking the championships for them. So Leclerc would have a fantastic chance. Maybe Paul Aaron, if he stays with Prema as he did at the Young Driver test. Maybe even Oliver Bearman, not a driver most people will have heard of, 16 years old, young British driver, 11 wins out of 21 races in the Italian F4 season last season. He's the only driver that Prema have confirmed for F3 this year. Might be one to keep an eye on. Next up, it is Mclaren, a team with a proud history of bringing young drivers into Formula 1. Varying degrees of success for every Lewis Hamilton that you have. You've got drivers like Van Dorn and Kevin Magnussen, who, very good drivers by their own right, just didn't quite work out for them in Formula 1 or with McLaren. The Driver Academy has gone through a lot of changes over the years. Zach Brown's admitted there's not really a space for them to have drivers that are currently in F2 and F3, so they've only got one young driver at the moment, and it will be a while before we see him at the pinnacle of motorsport, and that is the American karter Ugo Ugachukwu, only 14 years old. He'll be making his full-time single-seater debut next season in British Formula 4 for the Carling team, the same team where Lando Norris took the title in 2015. Next up, it's Alpine, and I think we all know what I'm about to say. How on earth has Oscar Piastri not got a seat in Formula 1 next season? Wins Formula Renault Euro Cup in his debut season. Wins Formula 3 in his debut season. Comfortably wins Formula 2 in his debut season. Can't get a full-time seat. Cannot get a full-time seat. And if Alpine don't get him one for 2023, I am certain some other team in Formula 1 will. Another Alpine Academy driver who will be leaving Formula 2 next season is Christian Lundgard. He'll be heading stateside over to America after 2 seasons in Formula 2 where he was very respectable. I think it's fair to say, especially in his first season, which saw him claim 2 victories and finish in the top 10 in the championship. Had a great debut qualifying in IndyCar, and with the Ray Hall Letterman team, wouldn't be surprised to see him challenging for victories in 2022 over in America. Alpine did have a couple of drivers in Formula 3 last season, namely Victor Martins and Ko Calais. Both of those drove for the MP team. They were the top 2 rookies in F3 last season. Martins finishing 5th, Collet finishing 9th. It looks like the young Brazilian will be staying in F3 next season. Did take part in the post-season test, but Martins didn't, so unsure whether he'll be making the step up to F2 or he'll be staying in the 3rd tier for one more season. Next up, it is the Williams Driver Academy. Not only did they get the opportunity to borrow from Mercedes, as they did with George Russell, they've got their own as well, and we saw Roy Nassani take part in regular free practice sessions last year for the Williams team. Don't think anyone really expects, even Williams, that the Israeli driver will end up as a full-time Formula 1 racer. Best result over the years in Formula 2 is a 3rd place finish last season at Monaco, yet to get a top 15 in the championship. Comes with plenty of financial backing though, so I think we'll be seeing him in and around the paddock for many years to come. Jack Aitken also took part in a free practice session last year at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and let's not forget he raced for Williams at the 2020 Sakhir Grand Prix. Last season, however, didn't have any full-time racing seat, did a part season in Formula 2, did a part season in the GT World Challenge, and has recently tested an IndyCar, so I wonder if he'll be another driver who heads stateside. And someone from the United States who's aiming to set up a good career in Europe is Logan Sergeant, newest member of the Williams Driver Academy. Last season he was racing for Chadwick in Formula 3. Funding issues meant that he lost his Prema seat that he'd had the season before and did a very respectable job for Chadwick. Finished 7th in the championship, scored something like 80% of their points. He's going to be stepping up for Carling in Formula 2 next season, and I think is a real talent and definitely one to watch for the future. The final member of the Williams Driver Academy we're going to look at is Jamie Chadwick. 2 seasons in W Series, 2 W Series titles. She said she's got no interest in making it a hat-trick, but I don't see where she's going at the moment. Yes, she did Extreme E last season for Veloci, but that seems more like a sideline rather than a full-time job. 2020 she did race in the Formula Regional European Championship, but struggled slightly in a Prema-backed car that wasn't really part of the Prema team. Finished 9th in the championship as she was trying to adapt to the new car and the new tyres. Her teammates finished 1, 2 and 3. I'd love to see her get a chance in Formula Regional, ideally even in Formula 3, but if she doesn't, then what's really been the point of winning those W Series titles? A bit like Williams, Alfa Romeo are in the fortunate position of having access to 2 driver academies. They get some access to Ferraris, like they did with Giovinazzi and Ilott, and Sauber run their own driver academy, and they have a real top talent with Théo Pourchaire, still extremely young, only 18 years of age. Some thought, and judging by the tweets he liked, he definitely thought he should have had a chance with Alfa Romeo in 2022, with Guan Yu Zhou ending up getting that seat. Was the top rookie in F2 last season, race victories on the way to 5th in the championship. Watch out for him this year, and if he does another good performance, I'd fully expect to see him in F1 in 2023. Just recovering from the horror accident that claimed the life of Antoine Hubert at Spa-Francorchamps in 2019 was a fantastic achievement for Juan Manuel Correa. Never mind getting back behind the wheel of a racing car. That is exactly what the American did though, racing for ART in Formula 3 last season. Unsurprisingly, wasn't really too near the front of the field. Definitely looks as though he got more confident as the season goes on. And Sauber must have seen something in him. They re-signed him to the Driver Academy. He's previously got podiums in Formula 2. They're hoping he can reach those levels once again. They'll also be hoping that one of their youngest members, Emerson Fitzvalley Jr, son of the 2-time Formula 1 World Champion, can also be a star of the future. Last season he was racing in Danish Formula 4, finished 3rd in the championship against what was a largely Scandinavian field, so drivers you would expect to have more experience of the circuits and more experience of racing against each other as well. I'd expect another F4 season or possibly a step up to Formula Regional for the young Brazilian. You'll notice that there is 3 teams we haven't spoke about with regards to having their own driver academy. Haas have easy access to the Ferrari one, AlphaTauri have easy access to the Red Bull one, Then there's Aston Martin, the only team in Formula 1 that hasn't really got someone they can snatch from an academy straight away. It's something they are thinking about rectifying. Otmar Schaufner has said they're looking to have one in the future. The closest thing they've got to a young driver is Nick Yaloli. Hasn't raced full-time in single-seaters though since 2015, and at 31-year-old, probably stretching the definition of a young driver just a tiny bit. That is it then. All 2022 F1 Teams Driver Academies have now been covered. Let me know down below in the comments who you think is most likely out of these to star in Formula 1 in the future, and if there's anyone else who's not currently affiliated with a Driver Academy who you think could make an appearance in Formula 1. I'll be hoping to do more videos throughout 2022, but until then, take care of yourselves and enjoy the year. Goodbye.